Hello, I'm Nils, and I'll soon be 14 years old. And my story is about how I couldn't stand the pressure of keeping up with my schoolwork. You see, I have a condition called dyscalculia, which means that I have difficulty understanding anything to do with numbers. The pressure to do well despite my condition meant I missed out on sleep, because I never felt like I'd learned enough. It was getting me so down, because I always dreamed of becoming a lawyer like my dad. He told me stories of his time in court, in the echoing courtroom where the jury and the judge in his robes stared at him intensely as he gave his case and the anticipation of the outcome. He wanted to make sure people got justice, and so did I. But to be a lawyer, you still needed to pass math, and numbers just seemed like jumbled patterns to me. Now that wasn't fair. Most of the others in my class, especially my best friend, Dominic, found math easy. It was so frustrating sometimes. Unfortunately, dyscalculia isn't known that well and therefore doesn't always get diagnosed correctly, and its treatment and support sparse. So I knew that I'd have to find a way to deal with it somehow, as I really wanted to fulfill my lawyer dream. I was lucky as my parents didn't put any pressure on me and my schoolwork at all. Mum reminded me that being happy is more important than struggling for a 1A report card, that there were loads of jobs out there which didn't rely on degrees and I might change my mind later. And Dad always said he didn't expect me to be a lawyer and I shouldn't feel obliged to do it just because he does. But I really wanted to help people and loved reading about the law and studying it. One thing that didn't help me improve learning math was my math teacher, Mr. Meyer. This one day, he had this stupid idea that top of the class in math, Dominic, should go to the board and try to explain it to me. It was so embarrassing, and I thought Dominic would refuse, but he strolled to the blackboard and attempted to show me a math problem. And of course, the pressure got to me. All I could see was the numbers moving in patterns and getting closer and more distant. I tried to signal to Dominic to stop, but he was in his element explaining math and made it more interesting than the way Mr. Meyer did it. The class was loving it and learning, but my cheeks were red and I felt sweaty. Thanks, Mr. Meyer, and thanks, Dominic. I was still mortified when I got home and explained what had happened to Mum and Dad. They were mad too and decided they would get a tutor for me as Mr. Meyer didn't know how to handle my dyscalculia. Other classmates had dyslexia and other learning difficulties but had proper guidance and support, and were never humiliated in class like I was. I couldn't even respond to Dominic when he texted who didn't think he'd done anything wrong. He even offered to help me revise math, but I was too furious to say yes. It was okay for him, being so naturally good at math. I couldn't stop thinking about school because I had an exam soon and my new tutor was unexpectedly ill. I felt sick all the time and couldn't sleep with worry. Luckily, at the weekend, my older brother Nick came to visit. Then I found out Mum had asked him to visit to help me prepare for my math exam. I felt so low and ranted that it wasn't just math that was the problem, but physics, social studies, computer science. You need to do calculations in so many subjects. Nick agreed. He said that even in his sports management major, there's loads of math. And despite him trying to help me revise, the numbers again just made patterns and made no sense to me. It was useless. I felt so stressed after he left and even lost my appetite. I was sick before the exam, and despite some unexpected positive thinking, expecting the numbers just to show themselves and for me to see the answer, it never happened. I looked around and everyone else was busy writing, including Dominic, of course, who was the first one finished. With great effort and stomach ache, I struggled through the tasks and tried to solve at least a part of them. Until the last second, I checked my answers repeatedly. When I got home, Mum was worried as apparently I was pale and looked weak. That was it. I burst into tears. I couldn't take the pressure any longer. I had really tried, but it just wasn't good enough. Mum begged me to go to a private school where dyscalculia is recognized and supported, but I did not want to change my school. But I did want to see a therapist specializing in dyscalculia, as I felt I could not improve myself anymore on my own. Mum insisted that if that didn't work, then the best thing would be to send me to a private school to take off some of the pressure. I had to make it work. The dyscalculia therapist, Lisa, changed my life. Finally, someone who understood my struggles and what I was going through. She assured me that dyscalculia would become better known in the next few years, and there would be more measures and support, just as much as for those dealing with dyslexia. She also said that she intended to phone my school and have a word with a certain Mr. Mayers to catch him up on proven and more sensitive ways to handle dyscalculia. Most importantly, she also told me to focus on my strengths and invest my energy there and foremost. I would learn to deal with my dyscalculia, and because of it, I felt so much more relaxed and less pressured. And you'll never guess what? My hard work and determination paid off as my results for my intelligence test were above average. I couldn't believe it. I could be a lawyer after all. Mum was so pleased and totally forgot her idea to send me to private school. Thank goodness. In the last few months, the training with Lisa has helped me gain so much confidence. I still have major problems with numbers and arithmetic, of course, but I've learnt to cope with it better. She even gave me some great tips to help with my anxiety. And, like she suggested, I now focus on my strengths. I even won a rhetoric competition at our school recently. My class was so incredibly proud of me, and although I was a bit embarrassed, it felt really good. I've come to realize that I can never get rid of my dyscalculia, and it isn't going to just suddenly go away. It does weigh on me at times, and I still get frustrated with some of my grades, but I continue to take one day at a time and celebrate my successes. And as for Dominic, well, yes, I took my stress and frustrations out on him and really regret it. I apologized, of course, and Dominic was forgiving and kind. We've already made plans to see each other when I go to university to study law and he starts his teaching course. Thank you for listening to me and hearing all about my dyscalculia. I'm sure many of you know the stress of school and the pressure that grades create. I'm sure some of you also have great strengths too, so try and focus on them. Do let me know about any stress you're having at school, as I'd love to hear about it. I think it would be good if we all talked about our difficulties more. See you soon, and happy learning!